Everyone. My name is Brian. Actually, I'm from the Hong Kong Baptist University. I'm from the Department of Journalism. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, the first section after lunch. Yeah, and good to have everyone here. And actually, I have another partner with me in this project is Professor Nick Zhang, but he's sorry that, he is in another appointment so that he cannot come here. But so a little bit about me, maybe. From my project title, you can understand that I'm teaching in journalism class, financial journalism class. Actually, I was a financial journalist practitioner. And then I think I have worked as a journalist for more than 15 years. And then I joined it. I changed my career path and then became a teacher in journalism education. So that's why I'm now in BU, and I'm more from the journalistic field side. And for my partner, Nick Zhang, because he studied computer studies before, so many technical things, I will also learn from him to include it in this project. So I think from the title, you can make a sense that because we are in the journalism department, in journalism, we always focus a lot about not only theory. We do a lot of assignment to ask our students really to go outside, really to interview people, and really to write some news article. And then it's not for assignment only. They really need to publish the work. So this is what we call the Practicum, and then we are in the financial journalism Practicum, okay? And traditionally, of course, we do something like this, a magazine things. We have Chinese version, and we have English version. We really publish different kind of magazine to publish student work. And also we will have a website. I will introduce it later. This project is about, because no matter in what field, I think all of us feel the pleasure that we can't just do our work in the traditional way, because AI, yes, AI is not coming. AI is here right now. We need to think about how to use AI to empower our newsroom. And that's kind of rationale, I will still call it an experiment. What I share here is really not something, I'm still a learner, I would say. I'm trying exploring different things with my students. I'm not saying that, I got a very good tips to do so, but just share my observation and the way I do it. I hope can help you at all. But a little background maybe for your interest, because people, when we talk about AI, it's supposed to ChatGPT comes to, I remember it's 2022 November, everyone can access the ChatGPT, and then everyone got shocked and very excited. But for my field, journalism, actually, even before generative AI, we have a term called automation journalism. Actually, it is not a new thing to use machine to write for news writing in our field. If we look back to 2014, a very important press called Associated Press, they have already used automation technology to write different kinds of financial news, quarterly reporting news. This in the United States. In China, of course, we have Tencent. Actually, we can trace back to 2015. They have already used machine to try to report news related to finance. So that's not something really very shocking to us, because 2014, 2015 is 10 years ago. So I think at that time, people have already talked a lot whether AI will replace journalists. We no longer need human to write finance story. But 10 years now, still we have financial journalism teacher and financial journalism practitioner. I don't really think machine can replace us all. Even before the GenAI, many media organizations make this claim. I think it's true. Most media organizations emphasize that they did not expect their financial journalists to be replaced by the robot. Indeed, the automation technology is used to enable human financial journalists to have more time and resource to provide high quality in-depth reporting with context and background. It is someone from Bilton work in 2018, even before GenAI. We have this mindset. We don't think robots will replace human journalists. We think robots should free humans to do more meaningful and high quality things, even before GenAI. And I think even we have GenAI now, I think these observations still relevant to our field. But anyway, let you understand more about our Practicum course first. As I mentioned, we have a magazine. I just show you this. And also we have a website. Students need to, they can choose. They can do the Chinese version 1. They really like a real journalist. They need to interview different people, attend different events, and then write their reports. Actually, this is what we call sport news. They need to do it daily, which means when the events come out that day, for example, the good example should be something like the Hong Kong stock market, something like that. They have some time pressure to do so. They need to finish the work on that day. That is what we call sport news reporting assignment. And then we have, of course, we have long form journalism, at this kind of magazine thing. They need to write long story, and then, in a relatively more traditional way, they need to do kinds of this assignment. And then I always think about and reflect, how can I try to make use of AI, encourage my students to use AI, no matter to these two kinds of assignment, okay? That's what we try to do. And yes, I've already told you these two types of assignment. In the past few years, I really read different kind of books related to AI. I really try to reflect myself a lot. And I find this book is really, really very helpful for it's not in terms of technical, it's in terms of the mindset. This book is called Co-Intelligence, Living and Working with AI. It's a really good book. If you have time, you really worth to read it. The book, again, not teach me about how to write prompt engineering, not this kind of thing, but it's a good mindset for me, how to use AI to transform my teaching and learning. And it states out 4 principles. I try to use these 4 principles to transform my Practicum class, and I would like to share with you now. The principle 1 mentioned by the author is, nowadays, you really need to always invite AI to the table. That means no matter what kind of task you think of, the author encourage us to try to make, could we do this task by AI? Could we really transform the process as long as, of course, as long as it's legal and ethical? And then why this is important is because if you don't do the experiment, you can't figure out the exact strength and limitation of AI. We have different kind of imagination about AI, no matter teachers and students. We think it is very powerful sometimes, but we think it is do some hallucination sometimes. But if without experiments, we don't know the exact strength and limitation. For example, people are quite surprised for some people that in the early stage of those ChatGPT and generative AI tools, their basic math is really weak. I don't know, do you read this test before? This is a very early model. When we just ask the general AI tools, 9.11 and 9.9, which one is larger? And then you can see the answer. The number 9.11 is larger than 9.9. Obviously, it is a wrong answer. I think quite a lot of people quite surprised by the fact that, especially those early models, their mathematics ability is quite weak. Without experiments, you don't know it's really quite weak. And then interestingly, if you look into the answer generated by this model, although it states in the first part 9.11 is larger than 9.9, but you find that at the end, since 9.11 is smaller than 0.9, the overall number 9.11 is smaller than 9.1. It's totally contradiction things in this answer. From these generated outputs, I think all of us can have a sense this kind of large language model do not really process any true reasoning. They don't know what they are saying. They just really generate some output by predicting something like that, okay? So it's really important for students and for teachers to try to experiment different kind of models to have ideas of what's going on. And then for me, in our journalism field, I always want to find an optimal match between AI and humans. I don't think we can ignore AI. AI is here and will always be here, I think. So I think the right approach for me is try to find the optimum point, how to use AI and human together to do journalism. So what have I done? I reflect the whole process of how we do our journalistic outputs. I try to break down into different steps and try to think about what kind of tasks, journalistic tasks, we can try to use AI, introduce AI to transform our process. Actually, the actual journalistic production process could be more complicated, but I just, to make things simpler, I use these 3 steps to illustrate what we have done. Of course, for every story, we need to interview someone. And then we need to have some background. So for the first stage, of course, we need to do research and preparation things. I think the most helpful part, no matter from the students and teachers, think that because we always need to do interview, if AI can do this part, is really helpful for us because we need to interview quite a lot of different people. At the same time, many people don't want to talk to journalists and then reject our email. But it's very important to make tailor-made email invitation for different parties. That's why interview invitation email is really a good task to ask AI to help to make it happen, to invite more people to do the interview. And then for the production part, I think it's very, very helpful. After we have the interview, we ask the AI to help to do the full transcript. And then it helps us to write our work a lot. And also, of course, translation and fact-checking, you can imagine with the help of AI, we can do it more efficiently. For the content generation part, my student and also teacher always hope that if we can just put one click and then one sentence, and then they generate the whole paragraph and whole article, and then we need not to do anything, right? We always have this dream. But I always tell my students, don't do it this way. It's really not a good way to learn and really not a responsible way to do journalism. Instead, I think we try some baby steps in graphic design, headline design, and also for full article generation, we try for some sport news, those daily piece of reporting. Instead of those non-feature, we don't use content generation. So to be exactly what we have done, for example, I think these AI models really help us a lot in terms of sport news writing. For example, students, one assignment for them is they need to attend an IPO. IPO means some private companies go public, and then people can buy their shares, okay? They attend the ceremony, and then they need to write a sport news piece to do so. In the past, when the reporter wrote their story, the editor and also the teacher, we don't have enough time to check, is this really the story, the facts mentioned in the story? For example, in journalistic writing, it's very important when we use the quotation, there is what is called direct quotes. Direct quotes should be always the exact wording used by the interviewee. But in the past, we don't check it we can't have an easy way to check it because I don't have time to attend the interview or listen the whole piece. But now, with the help of AI, because we will ask students to provide the full transcript for all their interviews and all they've done, we can easily check whether this direct quote is, the wording used by the interviewee, is it really the case? Or they got something mixed up, something like that. So I think that part is really very useful for us to enhance our editing process parts. And another interesting thing I think I don't think of it is I find that AI is flattening the initial learning curve of many things. Actually, this is not my observation. It is a research done by MIT scholar group. They find that actually who benefits the most from generative AI, they notice that workers with less experience, the most unskilled workers, gain the most productivity through the use of generative AI. I think that makes very strong sense. I will put it this way in my own words. In their words, workers with the least experience can quickly improve their job with the help of generative artificial intelligence. But for me, I will use these two cases to illustrate this concept. For example, we have two students. One student, their original score is 10. They really don't have skill in drawing things or image generation. With AI, they can do it. They can have make a great progress suddenly to score 16. But for those more experienced students, skilled students, they have already have 60 marks. AI could help them, but I think, the amount, the progress is not as significant as these students. So why do I have similar observation? It's because my student would like to do a story about the no additive economy, 低空经济，就是无人机 drone, those economy, okay? And then they want to try something new. In the past, they only write articles. But now they want to, because it really can get some good video footage, they want to try to make a video for this story. But unfortunately, they did not have much training related to video before because they are not concentrate on the broadcast part, okay? So what did they do? I don't ask them to do. I just ask them to try to use AI in whatever they can think of. They think by themselves. They think, maybe I can ask a generative AI to help me. They put something like that. If I want to film some shorts about drone delivery, provide me some advice on the shorts. And then the generative AI provides some short list for them to help them to take what kind of video footage. And they think that's how, at least when they at the sports, they are very frustrated and don't know how to take video. They just need to put a prompt and then get some general idea. And then when they at the sport, they know what kind of angle or what kind of thing they need to look for. Of course, compared to professional cameramen, I think they are still far away, not up to their standard. But at least they don't just shoot it randomly. They have some general guideline by using this. I think that's what I call AI is flattening the initial learning curve, and that part helped my students. And another case I would like to share with you because I find that it is very interesting is when they do this story, they need to do interview. I ask them, you can ask generative AI to help you to get some idea what kind of interview questions you can ask, okay? And then they really do it. But when I look into their prompt, I think it is really have much room to improve how they write their prompt. Because when they really have a very specific target called On The Go Limited, it is actually a drone training company. They want to interview this company, but when they put it in the AI chatbot as a prompt, They just write this. We are working on a special news article on the no additive economy. If we want to interview a drone performance company, what question can we ask? And then get this question. And I think when I review their outputs, of course, those questions are too general, right? You have a very clear target. Why don't you put more context, more knowledge base to help the AI to help you to generate more specific questions? Yeah, but my students don't do so, right? So for me, okay, I learned a lesson. After I chat with them, I always ask them they need to report their use of AI in the production process so that I can help them to review their prompts. Because actually, the on-the-go limiter, I just use Google search. I find that it have an official website. Or at least they just take a glance, or even they put the link when in their AI model chat box. The AI questions could be more specific and more useful, but they fail to do so. That's why my reflection is, students always complain about AI problems, but I find that sometimes it's not the limitation of AI. The problem is students not knowing how to use AI smartly. As a teacher, we really need to differentiate these two things. Sometimes, of course, AI has its problem. We always know that. But sometimes it's the not smart use of AI cause the problem. As a teacher, we really need to differentiate these two. So for the principle 2, the author asks us to be the human in the loop. That means we don't try to delegate everything to AI. We really use our human judgment, our expertise to operate the whole system. And for us, because time is limited, for example, in our experiments for the policy address, we need to do some daily reports and the policy address day. They really try something new. They fit the whole policy address into the AI model and then ask it to generate some articles just like this one. But of course, they need to be the gatekeeper. They need to try to clean up the error. They find the error, of course. But also, I always mention that they really need to remember, if we use generative AI to generate any kind of news reporting, you need to mark this label because transparency is also a very important for our news reader. And that's why through this kind of education, I remind students to be a responsible AI user. So what takeaways and observation from this exercise? I think after we try use different AI with them, students are aware that we can't only use just single prompts or zero shots prompt. We need to provide context and knowledge base for the AI to generate better answer. Also, it's better to set the persona of the AI. I will mention more at the latest slide. And then they also aware the hallucination, that's good, always have fake information. And quite interesting is sometimes the AI like to keep repeats itself in the news article. And that is very strange. For me as a teacher, of course, I appreciate that the reporting efficiency is increased. But at the same time, I think the important part is how to enhance their prompt writing skill. I find that their instructions sometimes is really not precise, and also to rely on zero shot, just one single sentence, and then that's over. That's not a good enough case. And for the third principle, the author teaches us we need to treat AI like a person, but tell me what kind of person it is. I think we have covered this point in my previous slide, just like we can't provide no context, no knowledge base for the AI to generate outputs. It always gets a bad answer. We really need to provide some context and constraint for it. Actually, because time is limited, I can share with you, not only for us, for some very major business organization, for example, BBC, comes out June 20, last week they came out these kind of things. Because people have a myth Sometimes they think, oh, we just use some general purpose AI. What does it mean? We just use the ChatGPT, the POE, the Gemini provided in the free, no scripts, no subscription. We have done all the tasks. But in our industry, or I think the new trend is that it's not enough. Every industry have its context. We better have our domain-specific AI tools. For BBC, they develop a BBC-style assist. Why? It's because you can, get a better answer, and then you can ask the AI to follow your standard and your style. This is what we call domain-specific AI. Sorry for time is limited. And then the last principle, I think this is really true. Assume this is the worst AI you will ever use. If at that moment you think the AI have some limitation, I can share with you. I think maybe 3 months later, more new latest AI agents will come out. Maybe they can do some semi-autonomous AI things. They can do it by themselves. No need to have too much human intervention. So what we should do is keep on experimenting with our students and colleagues, and also keep on having conversation like that, exchange ideas. I think it is very, very important to do so. So this was, I think it's just a recap. Because time is up, I will stop here. Thank you. So I think it's for Q&A, right? So if you have any questions or, because sorry, time is quite limited, yeah. And if you have anything, I can try to further clarify or, yeah. Yeah.
Students overlying the use of AI, in particular for translation, because I know that for your discipline, finance, journalism, it involves a lot of source from in different languages.
Yes.
I'm also a university teacher. What I observe is that many students, they just over rely on AI to translate everything into Chinese. I'm not sure if you have this problem with your students and how do you cope with this problem?
So far for me, I think because in my practicum, they can choose to write in Chinese or English. So the language they use to report because it's their preference. So I'm pretty sure if they choose write in English, they really write by themselves. If they not quite confident in their English, they will choose to report news in Chinese. So for my case, it's not for that part. But I agree with you. For other courses I taught, I find that students quite rely on, actually not really AI tools. Actually, 3 years ago and 4 years ago, I think some speakers also mentioned that they just write something in Chinese and then put it to Google Translate and then turn it into English and then give us the English. I encountered this kind of case before. But for me, I don't know, do you have any good solution or also from the audience, any good solutions? For me, because I can't, I don't have a very good software to detect that. But my case is that actually, if they rely on these kind of tools to do their homework, the quality of their assignment generally is not very good. So what I can do instead of just investigate the case or make a claim this is plagiarism, I will mark the assignments in terms of the quality. Maybe they have C range or something like that. So I try to solve the problem in this way. And also another way is that I will use different kind of assessment in a course. I no longer only rely on writing, take-home writing assignment to be the full course assessment. Always I will have some oral presentation, in-class oral presentation, or a closed book examination to make sure that without AI, they can still perform. Yeah, that's my approach at this moment. Yeah. Thank you. So, any other things I can help? If not, I know time is very tight, right? It's better for me to pass the mic to next speaker. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Presentation, and next presenter is Kin Leung. The title is Incorporating GenAI in Computer Programming, Redesigning Lab Assignments.
Thank you. Testing. So we wait for 1 minute or? Okay, so maybe let's get started. I hope you can hear me, so I will just put the microphone here for recording. My name is Adam Leung. I'm teaching in the Hong Kong Polytechnic University in the Department of Applied Mathematics. And for today, the topic will be incorporating GenAI in computer programming, redesigning lab assignments. So I observed that quite a number of sessions are based on language subjects, but have you thought that computer programming is also somehow similar to a language subject? We have so many programming languages. And the problem that we face under the impact of GenAI is somehow also very similar. So for today, as the topic suggests, I will try to go over the difficulties as a teacher in designing the lab assignments and how I can come up with some new ideas. So this is the brief overview. I will talk about the impact of GenAI and give you some literature review on theoretical frameworks. And I will give you the background of my project, followed by some concepts and examples of redesign lab assignments. And finally, I will have some discussion based on the feedback from my students. And in the good old days before generative AI, no matter you are teaching a language class or a programming class, you will give out writing assignments and lab assignments. Of course, the way of thinking is totally different, but the structure is more or less quite similar. If you are teaching language class, you just give a topic to your student, he or she have to think and write up an essay on that topic. Similar for lab assignment, we also give out a task, ask the student to think in different ways, so I use different icons, and the student have to write a program, no matter C++, Python, Java, any program, in order to solve the task. This is before GenAI. But what happened with GenAI? No matter what you give to a student, they just send to GenAI, they just send to ChatGPT and receive the answer. Then they will copy and paste and then submit. No matter it's a writing or it's a program, it does not matter. The thinking process is totally done by GenAI. And that is the concern of many teachers. So I will say that, of course, there are pros and cons. The pros, in the perspective of programming education, the pros is that GenAI can solve very complex programming tasks, especially when it involves a lot of different modules and different functions. It's also very efficient and robust in coding compared to a human. It can give you a result very fast, and it does not make any syntax error. Just like in writing English, your student might have lots of grammatical error. The same for programming, but we call that syntax errors, right? But the cons is that many students are over-relying on GenAI. They don't need to think at all. And in fact, even though some of them think that, oh, it's very easy to get answer, the answer might not be what we expect. It actually requires some programming skills in order to achieve the expected outcome and high quality outcome. And it's also difficult for the teacher to decide the suitable assessment. So if you listen to Brian's talk, you can see that it would be hard to distinguish between good student, moderate student, and poor students if everyone is using AI. So we have to think about these difficulties. And that's why I will put up this question before I go to the major part. How do teachers implement GenAI in lab assignments with purpose to enhance and assess students' programming knowledge? This is my question, and I will try to provide some, I won't say it's a solution, but we'll try to give you some idea. Firstly, a review of some theoretical framework. When we talk about programming education, many researchers will refer to computational thinking by Ming in early 2000s. So computational thinking is about not only the thinking skills, but also the attitudes in computing. Later, other researchers further elaborate the idea of computational thinking, or CT, into 3 key dimensions: computational concepts, practices, and perspective. Other researchers also define what does it mean by AI literacy, which is actually modified from technological literacy or IT literacy. It is actually a set of competencies of using AI technologies effectively and critically. And for some more practical and more empirical study, some people try to set up an AI lab framework to give a structure of the pedagogy for leading students to use GenAI in programming. And in some empirical studies, the effect of GenAI can be positive to enhance students' CT skills and programming efficacy and motivation. So I will show you the links to the literature at the end. But of course, I believe in this session, many audience are more like a educator, a practitioner in education. Here, I will introduce the background of my project. So back in year 2023, right after the emergence of GenAI, the UGC gave a funding called the FITE funding. And I'm leading a project called Enhancing Teaching and Learning Experience with AI Technology under this funding. And this is under the Faculty of Science. And so we have tried to set up different things. And for each semester, we choose some pilot courses to implement the use of AI into the teaching and also the assessment. In the last semester, our theme was computer programming. And this subject, principles of programming, was taught by me. And I use it as a pilot subject. You can see that we have quite a big number of students, for more than 150. So for the curriculum of our subject, you can see that I provide AI training to the students. That is somehow provided by a trainer from outside, and I also collaborate with the trainer. After conducting the workshop, we will give out AI labs. That means we allow students to do the lab assignment using generative AI, including ChatGPT and other platforms. But you can see that I still keep some conventional or traditional lab assignments in which AI is not allowed. So you can see that we have a mixture of 2 kinds of lab for comparison and serving for different purpose. This is how we go. And here, I will, if you are not familiar with computer programming, don't worry, I'm not teaching you any programming language, but I will show you the concepts of how I design the lab assignment. Traditionally, it's like if you give out a task to a student, how would they learn? How would they benefit from this lab assignment? They will first have to understand the problem and then decide to evolve them and do the coding, testing, and debugging. Sometimes it fails. The program fails, then you should get back to the previous step, modify your program until you think that it's okay. Then you can do some adaptation, extension, and then you can get the solution. This is the good old days without AI. But what happened with AI? Will your students still go over these steps of thinking? Obviously not. So things become more complicated. You give them the task. They don't even have to read the problem. They just copy and paste it to ChatGPT. So that's why I changed the way of giving them the question. Originally, I upload the question in PDF form on the website. And later, I just print out and give them the question. So they cannot copy directly. Okay, this is a little trick. Okay, very low tech, but very useful. That forces them to understand, read the the question and try to make it concise into some post to the GenAI. Okay, unless they want to type a whole paragraph of the question. Anyway, so some of them will skip the step. They don't have to understand the problem. They just directly prompt to GenAI for the whole question. And do you think they will do testing and debugging? Probably not. They think what we see from the AI is the solution already. So they will just submit. They don't even have to understand what is the meaning of the program generated by the AI. So you see that for these 2 steps of understanding, I put it in white because students might not necessarily go through this step if you keep up with the traditional way of a lab assignment. So my challenge is that how can we ensure that the students will go through these 2 steps? This is a real challenge. So here are the concepts of how I decide or we decide the lab assignments. Firstly, you have to make sure that students have to do some authentic work. The question have to be open-ended without any limitation in the method. They can use their creativity to do it in many ways as they can do. Second, it should somehow require human AI collaboration. I believe many speakers have mentioned about that. Not only AI, but also HI, human intelligence. And we need some collaboration between them. So if your question is directly done by AI or it can be totally done by AI, it fails. Okay, we have to make sure that your question requires somehow human decision and critical thinking. Third thing is interdisciplinary knowledge. Try to involve knowledge from other fields. So because AI has a very large database of pre-trained data, we can utilize the advantage of AI and to get students make use of the AI to cover interdisciplinary knowledge, especially for programming. For example, the program can be applied in many different disciplines. Fourth point is process-based. In the assessment, apart from asking students to submit the final outcome, you might also ask them to explain how does your code work and what is the limitation of your code. So these are the 4 points when I decide the lab assignments. So at the end, you will see that in my examples, they will be combining course knowledge on programming, the theme of application, which is the task itself, and also some extended knowledge from other fields. And here, I will try to be more practical. So one example of a redesigned lab is about financial portfolio. So this relates to the theme of finance analytics and fintech. But the topic itself is actually just object-oriented programming. For the instructions, I allow students to use any AI platform, including our university's own platform and also the poll. I believe poll is very popular. In addition, they may also refer to the Yahoo Finance for some financial knowledge. And at the end, they will have to submit a program. So the task is like making use of their knowledge in object-oriented programming. You don't have to understand what they mean, but they have to write 2 classes to represent a financial portfolio, and they stop. So it's just like when you set up a financial portfolio, just like, for example, for your retirement, you may buy some stock, you may buy from Apple and Google and add it to your portfolio at different price and different shares. And then you can evaluate what is the total portfolio value of your retirement plan, for example. This is a very simple example that I give the student. And I only say that, the minimum requirement is you have to include portfolio stock and the function of buy. But here is the point. I will also ask them, if you just do the minimum, you only get a barely passing marks. You have to think about what else can be put into this program. You think about yourself. I will not specify all the requirements, but you should give me something relevant in addition to this too. They are just 2 very basic examples. And in your program, you have to demonstrate the features of all the new functions, classes that you have added to this program. And you also have to explain how do they work. And here, this is the comparison. In the old lab, which I did a few years ago on electronic wallet, of course the difference is that AI and internet searching was not allowed, unlike in the AI lab. And when I design this two tasks differently, the key difference will be that in the old days, I have to specify what are the requirements. So if you do this, you get 1 mark. If you do that, you get another 1 mark. State very clearly. But in the redesign lab, I don't state clearly. They have to use their creativity. So if you just ask AI to complete the minimum requirement, it is meaningless. You will have to think of some new things whenever they are appropriate or not add to the program. And also in a traditional way, we may classify the correctness of students' coding using a different main program. But here, even for the main program, they can be modified by the students to demonstrate their coding. And it's also a difference in the grading. So my grading is based on not only correctness, but also the creativity of the program. That gives you some idea of comparison between the old lab and the new lab with the use of AI. And here, this is a result. In fact, I really want to respond to Ryan's comment and the reference on how to distinguish good and poor students. So in the research that Ryan has shown you, it turns out that AI will help those students with lower experience, right? But for the good student, they are good enough. You can only improve them from 60 to 70 marks according to your study. I think that depends on the context and also depends on how you decide the assignment. For my case, in this finance portfolio, I can still distinguish between good, moderate, and bad students. So for good students, it's like, apart from competing what I want, they also include different financial products like bonds or currency, which I did not ask them to do so. So you see, that is making use of their creativity. And that also depends on how they search on the internet. You know, the Yahoo Finance is already very informative. And also the AI. You can also ask AI, okay, what other financial products could possibly be added to the portfolio, for example? They have to make problems like that in order to get something meaningful. And also consider some other assets. I only put up the buy function, but you can also sell it. You can also combine. So would the student come up with this idea that would test their knowledge, not only in the computer knowledge, but also interdisciplinary knowledge. And for this field, they can somehow refer to AI. And of course, they also need to evaluate portfolio using some other knowledge that they have learned from statistics or from finance. Moderate students, they just complete the minimum requirement. I won't say they're wrong, but they won't get a high mark. For poor students, it's very interesting. I don't know why some student misinterpret the question. He or she wrote a program of a fruit seller buying apple and oranges. Probably he or she misunderstands buying apple, the fruit, instead of buying apple, the company's stock. I don't know why. Some submitted in executive codes that they have never tested. So you see, for those over rely on GenAI in programming, they will submit something really unexecutable, and they will receive like maybe 0 marks. Okay, so you see, I can still distinguish between different levels of students. Another example will be more related to language and also cryptography. Have you heard of Caesar cipher? It's like I have an original message, and for each alphabet in this original message, I will shift it by a fixed key, by a hidden key. For example, if the key is 3, then I will shift from B to E, C to F, and so on. Then I can generate an encoded text. This is what we call Caesar cipher. Where on the lecture, when I talk about string processing, I introduced this idea to a student, and I also taught them how to write a program of Caesar cipher for the encoding direction. But in the lab, in the AI lab, I asked them in an opposite way. I asked them to do the decoding program, what we call Caesar decipher, now, which is much more difficult. The reason is that you have to write a program that read the encoded text and determine the original text and also the hidden key. The key is not known to you. Just imagine you receive a secret message from the enemy, let's say in the Second World War. Using this program, decode a given secret message, explain the algorithm and state the limitation. Now, this is how it works. Now, I'm not sure if you have some knowledge in cryptography or not, but this is some example. The encoded text is something like that. It doesn't make any sense at all. But if you fold this secret text into the program, supposing you should get the original text, which is like CPP, is a high-level general purpose programming language, something meaningful in natural English writing. And also, it should determine that, oh, the hidden key is 10. There are many approaches. Now, think about it. What can be the approach? The most easy, the most basic approach is in English. The most frequent letter is E. So if you input the whole string and count the number of each letter, you get the most frequent letter, map it back to E, then you can get the hidden key. This is a most basic way of doing. But this is not perfect. I will explain the problem with this method 1. Method 2 is like you generate all the 26 possible outcomes and see which one contains mostly the common words. Just like there is on, in English, this word appears for a number of times. So, and then what else? You can also consider the frequency distribution of all the letters. And this is the question that I gave to the students. And this is very tricky because if you use the most basic method 1, it will give you something nonsense. And the problem is, if you throw this question to ChatGPT or any other AI platforms, they will only give you a program based on method 1, but not method 2 and method 3. So the trick is, you can try it yourself. So the trick is that if they really try out this question, they will think that, oh, something is wrong. They have to think of what's wrong with this algorithm. They will have to somehow either think by their own self, or they will have to communicate with ChatGPT. Oh, your code is wrong. Can you have another method? Or can you explain the principle of this method? What is the limitation? How can we modify your algorithm so that this kind of mistakes can be removed? So you see that if after some prompting, if you modify the prompting, you can get a correct result, also generated by GenAI, but you will have to do some modification. So you can see that also some students, they just totally misunderstand the task. They give me all the 26 possible outcomes, which is not what I want. Some of them ask the user to input a key, which is also wrong. This is a misinterpretation of the question. And it is also some common mistakes, even it's done by GenAI. Sometimes GenAI can misunderstand your input, or maybe it's just because the student input the question wrongly. And in the testing and debugging part, some students, they don't really try to understand whether the example, whether the question give you a correct answer or not. They don't realize that their decoded message is wrong. And some of them don't know how to figure out the alternative method. They don't know how to prompt for a modified result. So in this example, you can see that observing from these difficulties and mistakes, I will somehow force the student to go over these two steps. They have to understand the problem in order to prompt correctly, in order to get the correct result. And after the testing and debugging, when they find that the decoded text is nonsense, they will need to look behind what is wrong with the structure and the algorithm, what is the limitation, and then modify the prompt, and then regenerate another program until they get a correct answer. So by doing so, I can force the student to go over these two steps in understanding. Okay, so how much time I have? So in some, just some very quick review of the feedback. So after AI training workshop, overall students think that the AI workshop is useful. And in the SFQ, they also have positive feedback on the usage of AI in learning programming. But there are also some negative feedback from students. They find that using AI is not useful because it depends on the computer, not their own knowledge. They find that AI lab project does not require them to use their brain. Okay, that must be from some very hardworking student, I suppose. So when we design lab assignments, as a teacher, we have to ensure that the task is not directly done by AI. It requires human understanding. So try to make it more challenging, okay, and require creativity. Okay, some students think that, oh, I hope to do less AI lab because AI lab is not related to the exam. That's also true. You know, Hong Kong is very exam oriented. So that's why I keep both kinds of lab. But we can also think about it. Apart from written exam, maybe project-based assignment is also useful. And you can allow students to use AI in no matter way they want to show their creativity. Some students think that they just cannot understand the code generated by AI, even though it's correct. So we also have to enhance student literacy in not just in writing the code, but also in reading the code. Maybe AI can be a good company for pair coding. And what else? Also, we need to clarify that what is the grading scale if you allow the use of AI. Somehow it's hard to define what does it mean by a creative work or not. Okay, so these are the references. If you are interested, I can send you the links. So thank you. I hope I'm within the time. This is a Q&A session. Yes. Yes. Yeah. How do I know that they don't use AI? Yes. Yes, that's also true. Firstly, for the traditional lab, which suppose they are not going to use AI, I have to monitor them in small classes. I have like 150 students, but for the lab, we divide into 4 lab sessions, each with only like 30 students. So I have to monitor them by walking around, and we also have CCTV. They always, but still, I caught some students using GenAI. Of course, I will punish them. And also, some students think that, oh, the teacher will not know about that. That's not true. I can also judge from their coding style. So I can catch if someone is using GenAI when it is not allowed. So first question. But yes, we cannot avoid students for doing so. And second question, I think is very interesting. Although we require students to somehow explain their code, but I also observe, just like what you suggest, students are using GenAI to write the reflections, right? To explain the limitations or how the principle of the algorithm works. Yes, that can happen. But even so, that provides a chance for them to try to understand the principle behind the AI and also the limitation. And so I will say that this is not avoidable, but at least we try to ensure that students have a sense of understanding the principle behind the algorithm and the limitation, then somehow they can still learn something. And also response to your concern in the very beginning. Yes, AI technology is like changing every year. And just last year, I thought there were something that cannot be done by AI, but this year there's a breakthrough. There's breakthrough every year. So it would be impossible for us that, oh, we design a new lab assignment and then we can use it forever for the next 10 years. No, this is not possible. So that's why we have to somehow update our knowledge as a teacher and also think about the redesign. But at least the principles like critical thinking, decision making, collaboration of AI and human intelligence, I think these basic principles are still there. This would be something that won't be changed. Okay, I hope that answers your questions. Thank you. And any other questions? Or do we have time for that? Probably not. Yes. Thank you. The most important thing is the picture with the front page. Yeah, because it shows the university logo, you know. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, just send a photo to me. Yeah. With me and preferably with the university logo. Yeah. Yeah. Just some picture that you think is yeah. Don't make it.
OK。那我们提前一点开始，既然大家都已经坐在这里等待，还是我们再等2分钟？哦，OK，好。各位来宾，各位尊敬的老师们，大家下午好啊！我今天演讲的这个题目是人工智能赋能非华语和 SEN 小学生，然后重点关注他们的中文学习，然后主要从2个角度切入，一个是隐性教育，还有一个就是语言媒介。主要是会从背景资料，还有已有的实践，包括 AI 的一些使用，还有政策文件几个层面出发。我先抛出一个问题，就是大家会觉得说 AI 可以助力教育公平和多元文化的教育的可持续发展吗？还是恰好相反的？我先問一下在座的各位老師，主要是來自內地的還是香港的？如果係喺香港呢邊嘅老師，有冇舉下手啊？有冇？係本地老師嚟嘅，都係中小學嘅老師係咪？哦，謝謝。那如果是內地的老師，會是占一半吗？有吗？没有，内地老师可能少一些哈。OK， 好，就是这个为什么会发出这样的一个问题呢？因为可能这个教育公平和多元文化正好是在这个香港的背景下，非常的能够体现出来。像我们的非华语学生，包括我们的 SEN 学生，都在主流的院校里面。然后我就引出了一个就是启发，就是当时呢，我是在练咏春的时候，我的师傅已经70多岁，将近80岁，然后他对新兴的一些科技非常的感兴趣，就比如说，他曾经让我印了80多页的一个手表的说明书，然后他想研究手表的按键里面这些每一个按钮都怎么使用，然后包括这边，大家可以猜猜他这位老先生大概多少岁吗？我们是一起练合气道，他是我的师兄，然后这是我们的师傅，他的年纪大概在82岁左右，就是他也在这个年纪还在不停的突破自己的边界。他原本是一个出租的士司机，然后他在做的士司机的生涯里面学会了韩语、流利的日语、英文，包括普通话，因为他是本地的一个 local 老先生。所以呢，就是这带出什么呢？就是虽然老者在现当代的，尤其是 AI 发展的非常快的这个时代，他们好像是慢的人，是落后的人，但是呢，我们 SEN 学生和非华语学生好像在主流学校也是比较慢的。但事实是这样的吗？我们先看一看。确实，他们在学习的过程中，经常会面临很多挑战。比如说，他们在口语和书面语的学习的时候，很难进行转换。比如说，广东话里面的行食，跟着我行，那我们写出来就是跟着我一起走。我哋一起去食嘢，我们一起去吃东西，或者是书面语就是我们昨天一起去哪吃饭。那缺乏词汇量也是，就他们经常在写作文的时候表达不了自己的情感，可能他们的词汇是有限的，或者是用广东话口语去书写。那包括多义词、近义词的混淆，还有缺乏语境和家庭知识的不足，这个大家可能如果真的在这个非华语和 SEN 的领域做了比较久，应该都有感同身受了。文化融合的问题，包括一些贫穷和歧视等等。而 SEN 的情况，那就也是比较普遍的。反正现在在我们的这个小学呢，我所在的小学是一个津贴学校，然后可能 占比也有15%左右。然后比较突出的就是专注力不足和自闭症的学生比较多一些。然后读写障碍也是在考试的时候特别明显。然后我们也会做一些抽离考场，帮助他们的这个学业。那么，在这个非华语学生的共融情况的这个历史变迁里面，我们可以看到，教育局曾经就是2004年的时候，把专门为非华语学生而设的学校拓展了更多间，从15间到31间，中小学都有增加。而在后来，它大部分的这个主流学校都可以让非华语学生去进入，包括这个2017年的研究呢。我们可以看到，在政府方面、学校方面、社会方面，当时都提出了一些愿景，但这些愿景在10多年后的现在，其实大部分已经实现了。那么我们看到，这个公营小学的学校数目从2019年的317所，直到后来2024年的356所，也是有所提升。包括非华语学生的人数从9044人到了9554人，那说明。非华语学生在这个小学阶段的这个学校选择也多了很多。而SEN 支援的这个层面呢，就是3个层次，大家都已经很清楚了。然后这个是我们学校的一个学生支援的一个架构。而第一层呢，主要就是班级的这个大班老师要专门对几个学生，对那些 SEN 学生进行关注。然后第2层就是我们有些抽离的课堂，补助他的英文和中文方面。包括第3层就是自闭症比较严重的同学，可能会请一些学童照顾员，然后全程陪同他们的学习。然后这个是近期的我们学生支援组的一个简单的工作，如果大家有兴趣，可以再进行交流，在这就不展开讲了。那么我们刚才讲到，就是要从2个角度去切入，一个是隐性教育，一个是语言的媒介。那在隐性教育这个层面呢，就是大家耳熟能详的这些，我们华人传统文化里面经常提到的耳濡目染、潜移默化，这个是怎么实践的呢？就是隐性教育，它主要指的是无意识的获得复杂和知识的过程。而在我们的正常的学习过程中，如果在潜意识里面已经建立了一个知识基础，那学习新的知识的时候，就更容易达到我们的学习目标。我们在1年前有开设一个项目，就是要把中国文化园进行一个改造。我们用暑假的2个月的时间，然后把整层都重新的进行了翻修。然后最左边的这张图呢，其实最后这是一个设想。当时我是想把这个中国科技的一些部分，包括科学家，包括一些新的航天的设备展现出来。那我们最后呈现出的样子大概是这样的，就是有一个转转板，然后4面的一个立方体，然后每个学生如果有兴趣都可以打开，就可以转一转，拨一拨它们，有不同高度，所以适合不同年龄层的学生。然后包括里面有一些文字，然后文字有些问答，未来我们还会加2维码进行一些这种数字的互动。然后这边呢，就是其中的一面墙，我们有8张海报，然后每个月都会根据不同的主题进行更换。像中秋节就是大概在9月份的时候，然后10月份做国庆，11月份我们的主题是孝亲，12月到2月左右就是新年的那个阶段，是农历新年的一些相关的主题，包括3月份就是进入到春分。海报内容也会比较多元化一点，因为有8张的这个限度，所以我们有的时候会有一些提问，就比如说哪些是农历新年会用到的装饰呢？我们就混一些西方的元素，包括一些中国的元素，然后让他们学生去判断。然后在这个食品安全，就是我们的食品安全教育里面有1厘米的故事的呈现，就是从1厘米的撒种到培育幼苗，到收割，到脱粒，一直到后面的去胚。形成我们现在看到的这种白色的精米，用这种图像的形式去呈现，就让学生也比较理解我们的粮食安全问题。然后包括月亮，因为我们学校有这个天文馆，然后天文课是我们的一个比较突出的项目，所以我也会把这个中秋节和这个天文课做一个链接，所以这里面呈现了一些科学相关的知识。而中国文化园的一些活动呢，比如说文化周的一些摊位，我们会把这些春联给截成2半，然后让学生进行匹配。然后我们邀请的这个义工都是我们的非华语学生。然后当时我们还组织了一些老幼共融的活动，就是后面站的这一排都是我们学校大概60到70岁左右的老者，就是他们的小朋友，就是祖孙辈的孙子孙女辈的，在我们学校进行学习，然后他们也被邀请过来跟我们一起参加活动。 然后这个是我们在嘉年华的时候，大家都穿着华服，然后有一些书法的摊位，包括我们有些打卡点，在春节的时候也给贴出来，包括我们在这个华服的题目和这个当时是在历史博物馆有一个夏商周时期的不同的这个文物的展演，然后我们也把它拿出来作为一个知识的学习。好，在 AI 的这个渗透里面呢，我们其实可以从这个环境的创设、情感的支持系统，包括家长参与和社区合作不同的层面去渗透。那我们接下来的目标也是会往这个方向去发展。语言媒介呢，就是我们一般中文课还是以广东话去授课，然后普通话有的时候我也会去训练他们，然后包括让他们就掌握2文3语的这个能力，然后包括学生自己的本国语言，我们也会有德国来的学生，然后还有越南的，包括印度的，所以他们有的时候也会去交流一些自己的语言。就是在我看来，就是我很认同这个学者的一个观点，就是所谓的文化共融不应该是单方向的，就不应该是我们这个大多数人去把那些少数人融进我们的这个大多数人里面，而是应该让那些小部分的人也去发声，把他们的文化可以展现出来，让大家进行一个互动性的共融。所以在语言媒介的这个 AI 渗透呢，我们可以从文化共融的层面、社交技能的层面，还有语音识别互动性的练习去渗透。比如说课堂进行一些辩论和讨论的时候，我们也可以把这个 AI 元素加入进来。好，现在就进入到了一个就是可以比较实用的环节了，就是语音输入的方式录入文字，在作文写作的时候，我们是已经采用了这个方式，就是因为我会入班支援那些学生，他们可能很多时候是读写障碍的情况，就没有办法把文字写得非常的漂亮，或者甚至不知道怎么写。那这个时候呢，他们就把自己的观点想出来，然后通過語音嘅方式，就係講廣東話，跟住就令到嗰個 iPad 可以生成出來一啲文字，然後他就可以抄下來，抄下來之後就可以讓自己的文章更容易被老師清晰的看到。然後這個 Rolling Note。Rolling Note 老师在座老师应该也都用过，对吧？大部分都用过，就是老师会在上面进行一些作业的批改，包括可以实时的看到学生的上交情况。然后我们其实真正比较新在用的就是这个 Coding 101和 Canva AI， 还有这个 Padlet， 对。就是大家之前可能都用过 Padlet， 但是就是这个 Padlet TA 是我今天比较想要重点推荐的。这个生成式 AI 平台里面的这个 Coding 101，它有一个特别好的地方，就是如果与课堂无关的一些问题呢，它会有这样的回复。比如说，我们的这堂课的主题是水循环，当学生问，唔識太陽係咩嚟㗎？他不知道太陽系是什麼，然後他這個 AI 的回復說：抱歉，這個問題與水循環的主題無關。不過我們可以告訴你水循環的內容哦。如果你有興趣，請告訴我。就相當於 AI 它沒有直接回答這個小朋友提出的與課程內容無關的問題，而是去引導學生說：哎，你提的這個問題好像跟我們的課程主題無關，哎，你要不要想一想，我們可以往哪個方向去思考？然后除此之外，除了科学课，在这个历史文史类的一些课程里面，我们也可以设定一些人物的学习问答，这样让学生可以有一个感觉说，哦，当时的那个时代的人是什么样的，我可以怎么跟他提问，或者可以怎么样回应他的问题。然后在 Canva AI 的这个里面，我当时就输入了一个这个要求。希望他给我生成什么呢？生成一个制作互动式历史时间轴，展示柳宗元在被贬时期走过的城市、时间、地点，还有他身边有谁，包括当时写了哪些名作。然后你就留给 AI 大概1分钟的时间，他就不停的在编程，然后就给我生成出了这个，大家可以简单看一下，它是有一定互动性的。他说，点击时间轴上的原点，探索柳宗元的这个人生经历，然后我们就可以看到柳宗元一些比较大家都比较熟知的这种被贬的经历就出现了。然后可能就是我们的课文一般就是会有那个《小诗谈记》，什么《始得西山宴游记》《抱蝉山记》，就是会有这些相关的一些课文内容，然后他又在里面会显现出来，包括他回答了我刚才的问题，他身边有谁。所以这个就相当于有一个互动性，不只是老师给学生选，而是学生可以在这个过程中进行一些自己的创作。包括 AI 的这个助手，这个良渚文化大家熟不熟悉？良渚文化不太清楚，那我们就假装 成为一个学生，现在用 AI 自学一下。就是如果说良渚文化把它打进去之后，它会生成几个不同的主题：良渚文化介绍、良渚文化的玉器和陶器、良渚文化的社会结构和宗教信仰。我们挑战一下自己，尝试一下，就是了解它的这个宗教信仰和社会结构。然后我就看到，哦，他告诉我了这么多内容。良渚文化的社会结构非常的复杂，已经出现了明显的社会分化。良渚古城遗址的发现表明，当时已经存在一个强大的统治中心，能够组织大规模的社会生产和工程建设。良渚文化的宗教信仰也很重要，玉器被认为是神灵沟通的媒介。良渚文化的衰落原因至今不明，可能与气候变化、战争等因素有关。但这个内容是我想呈现给2年级学生的。大家觉得2年级的学生真的能懂里面的社会分化、社会结构、遗址，包括社会生产、工程建设，包括衰落、气候变化、战争因素吗？当然不能。所以这个文字分级器就体现出来它的重要性了。它把这一整块的文字变成了这样一个小故事。在很久很久以前，良渚住了很多人，他们有国王管理大家，大家一起建造房子和城市。他们最喜欢用玉石做漂亮的东西，觉得玉石很神圣。他们相信玉石可以帮助他们和天上的神仙说话。后来这些人不见了，我们到现在都不知道他们为什么离开了那里，可能是因为天气变得不好了，或者是打仗的关系。大家就可以看到，哎，他把这个气候变化变成了可能是因为天气不好了，然后战争因素就变成了，哎，可能是打仗的原因。包括前面的这个每一个我涂颜色的都可以对应到，所以它相当于把一个看似比较复杂难懂的这个知识点，简化成了一个孩子们这个年龄段的孩子们理解的文字片段。而未来呢，我们也会实施一些有关 AI 的一些平台也好啊，就是行政方面也会有帮助，然后学业方面也会有帮助。在这个个性化学习计划里面，我们也想要开展一个适应性的学习平台，然后包括在借助平台简化非华语和 SEN 相关的一些行政工作上，我们当时也和 Snelly 有一些合作，就是说想应用它的这个特殊优异学生资料管理，包括 IEP 的这个自动生成，包括服务的这个活动管理。就现在我们的活动管理还是主要用 Excel 表格去生成，然后包括用 eClass 去辅助，然后未来可能就同一个平台就可以统一所有的这个功能，然后包括这个账号管理的体系，现在我们也是以纸本的形式，就是要传签9个人，包括校长每个班的中英数老师都要传签纸本，但是未来我们就可能就是有关这个学生的一些档案，我们只让那些有权限的人应该看到的人看到，而其他人就可以直接就是收不到相应的信息，然后包括辅导交流记录里面，就是社工他们需要就是进行一些跟进的时候，他们也比较容易可以调出学生的档案。然后在学生人工智能智慧素养的这个层面，大家可以看到，就是在这个 understand 到 apply 到 create 这个层面，其实我们在学习知识的时候，也是从一个完全不太懂到慢慢的理解，进入到一个可以去应用，到未来的可以继续去创造的这么一个阶段。那这个是我们没有 AI 的时候就已经在这个学习模式里面了。那现在 AI 的出现，其实并没有让我们就是说，哎，真的是遇到了什么困难，而是说依旧可以按照以前的一个学习模式，以这种循序渐进的去了解 AI。包括港府的一些政策文件层面，我们也看到，就他在教育领域有提到，该行业规范要使用人工智能的这个方式和范围呢，不建议普遍禁止学生使用声称是人工智能，但在课业中使用应取得教师的同意，同时应该确保生成的内容应该要明确的被识别，避免有违学术诚信。而在教师的这个层面呢，就是说在教学的过程中使用生成式人工智能，要确保生成内容的实用性、真实性，包括还有图文一致性，以及批改作业的时候呢，要确保这个由人工去审核。那这个香港生成式人工智能的这个技术和应用指引，这本册子也是我们未来在编定这个学生的 AI 应用手册里面会做的一个比较大的参考的文本。好，我们又回到了那个问题 ：AI 可以助力推动教育公平和多元文化的教育的可持续发展吗？还是大家觉得是恰好相反的呢？就是回顾到这个学生的情况，就是当我们看到他们好像在学校里确实比较慢，哎，在学习的层面可能经常要花很多的时间去追的时候，但我们又同时看到在 82岁的老人那里，他虽然做不了特别标准的动作，做出那种应有可以考试考过级的这种状态，但是他依然热爱着学习，依然热爱着去探索知识的边界。那当我们的非华语学生和 SEN 学生依旧保有对这个世界的好奇心，想要去探索世界的边界的时候，我们拥有了 AI，我们拥有了更多的工具去帮助他，我们可以依旧持续的陪伴他成长。那他们这个时候真的是慢了吗？不，他们应该是比以前可以跑得更快了。对，这个就是我的一些分享。然后大家如果有什么想要提问的或者想要交流的，非常的欢迎。谢谢大家。对，现在就是我也可以继续就是再展开讲一讲，因为刚才我怕时间不太够，还是现在就直接进入提问环节。哦，OK。大家现在会有什么想要问的问题吗？不如可以先问一下，我再做详细的。暂时没有。哦，
像那个，
嗯，
刚才你说非华语
嗯
跟 SEN 的学生很不一样，
嗯
那你们是怎么处理？
嗯
在 AI 方面，他们
嗯
分开两批学生。
哦，是一个很好的问题，但其实他们也有重叠的情况，就是非华语和 SEN 学生有的时候是重叠的，就是他有可能是非华语学生，但是他同时也有这些不同情况的一些学习需要。对，然后我们在这个分开的层面，就是在 SEN 的小组里面，我们原本会有一些社交技巧的一些培训课程，那只是在他的这个 SEN 小组里面会渗透一些 AI。然后在非华语的那个部分，原本我们有一些非华语学生的课后功课辅导班，也是依照老师的，就是他平时的教学内容，去按照他的喜好去加入。我们暂时还没有一个特别系统的体系，说一定要把两者分得特别开。对，因为里面的学生有一些也是混在一起的。嗯，谢谢。就是现在现有的有一些平台里面已经也有这些，就是文字配对，或者老师平时在日常的教学工作中，已经也有一些电子的平台的运用。但是这个平台有一个弊端，就是它这边是有一个 quota 的限制的，就是它每问一个问题或者每回答一个问题都会去扣这个钱，所以就是学生也有一定的 quota，老师也有一定的 quota，就暂时这个平台还不能做到完全免费，或者是完全的可以无限次使用。对，这个是它的一个弊端。但是它的好处就是老师可以在老师端进行一些课题的创建，然后也可以屏蔽掉一些就是学生不该提问的问题。就是如果学生在这个提问框里经常问一些特别奇怪的问题，他就会就直接就不回答，或者是有一些就是程序可以让学生会进行一些思考，怎么去回应这个 AI。然后这个平台其实我们也是思考了很久才去运用的，因为它有就是一开始大家的考量就是，SEN 学生的这些资料都是保密性很强的嘛，所以很怕第三方机构会泄露一些学生的这个机密，对吧？所以我们一开始很想用，但是并没有得到大部分人的同意。对，后来慢慢的就是因为AI 的运用可以真正的减少一些行政工作的这个workload，所以我们后来还是决定就是要尝试一下。对，但是请讲。嗯，就希望他们能够，就暂时我们还没有完全把它应用到实际课堂，但是呢，我们其实是预期小朋友可以认识到这个良渚文化大概它是发生在哪个城市，然后因为未来我们还会有一些就是系统性的课程，让他们了解到，哎，它是在哪个城市发生的，包括我们为什么要去了解这个文化，以及他们在浅显的文字的理解的过程中，已经慢慢知道，哎，这个社会的运转大概是一个什么样子的。然后未来他们在写作的过程中，也可以去探讨人类在不同民族、在不同阶段、在不同城市，他们的这个社会文化圈大概是一个什么样的状态。慢慢一层层去延展。嗯，对的，是这样。谢谢。还会有 哪位老师想？请讲。可以的。
小朋友还有普通小朋友，会给他不同的文本吗
？SEN 小朋友会有，就是一般他的字体首先会放大嘛，然后会针对学生的不同的需要，然后会降低一些难度。就比如说字词方面的笔画太多的，如果词汇笔画太多的，我们会就是人工把它变成笔画少一点的字。对，对，识读的时候会清晰一些。但是我们也会把它文本念出来，就有一些学生是在认读的时候，他们可能直接用视觉的这种方式去理解是比较困难的嘛，所以也会用语音的方式，对，让他们去理解。谢谢。
Okay, so you finished? Okay, thank you so much for your great presentation. Okay. So the next presenter will be Lam Yan Yan, and the title is 人工智能评测在语言学习中的应用，以翻转粤语教室和对外汉语元宇宙为例。Okay.
好，各位老師大家好，咁我係香港理工大學中國語文教育中心嘅林yan老師啦，咁好歡迎大家嚟到呢一個講座啦。咁我今日咧就會講兩個關於係人工智能評測嘅平台，咁其中咧翻轉粵語教室咧，大家咧係都可以用緊，因為已經係公開咗喺我哋中心個網站嗰度嘅。嗱咁即係大家都好清楚啦，即係 AI 飛速發展啦，咁我哋學語文啦、學語言咧，都需要用上呢個 AI 啦。咁我今次分享嘅嗰兩個平台咧，其實都係叫做一個創新嘅平台啦。譬如咧，翻轉粵語教室咧，咁我哋睇過喺香港大專嘅粵語自學網站裏邊咧，係冇嗰啲AI 評測嘅，即係佢唔可以係訓練口語嘅。咁我哋一陣睇嗰個咧就係可以訓練口語㗎啦。咁另外對外漢語元宇宙呢個即係元宇宙即係 Metaverse 嗰一個啦。咁就係喺香港理工大學咧，我哋有對外漢語即係俾外國學生學普通話嘅，即係我哋有學廣東話嘅學生啦，有學普通話嘅學生啦。咁下邊呢個咧就係暫時係內部使用嘅。咁啊，即係介紹下大家俾大家識啦。咁呢啲即係我哋最近嘅一啲研究啦。咁翻轉粵語教室咧，咁喺過去有一啲嘅場合咧，特喺大專嘅場合咧，即係都有提過嘅。咁但係可能喺即係中小學嘅場合就比較少同大家分享。咁就希望借住呢個機會咧，俾大家了解下咁啦。嗱，咁喺香港理工大學咧就有幾門呢個廣東話課嘅，咁有初級廣東話啦，同埋中級嘅。咁用嘅書咧，如果係即係華語嘅人士啦，譬如內地生啦，就用左邊嗰本啦。如果係外國學生，即係佢唔識中文嘅，就用藍色呢本啦。咁而家可能我哋會有一啲嘅修訂啦，用一啲更新嘅書啦。咁呢本可能即係其他老師都見過㗎啦，即係港大出嘅。嗱咁翻轉課堂，我諗大家都好熟悉㗎啦，即係上堂之前咧，就係請學生，即係俾學生去你預先去預習啊，去練習啊，去使用網絡或者智能手機等等嘅電子工具啦，去即係練習嗰啲嘅內容先啦。咁喺上堂嘅時候咧，咁老師可以即係多啲時間集中喺學生嘅難點嗰度咧，去幫佢去改善啊。咁翻轉粵語教室咧，就係翻轉課堂嘅一啲內容嚟嘅。咁我哋去即係去製作呢一個網站嘅時候咧，就係有思考過嘅，因為呢個係同課程結合嘅一個課堂啦。咁所以咧嗰個網站咧就類喺呢一個嗰個Bloom's Taxonomy 裏邊咧，我哋就係比較下邊呢個初階思維嘅嗰一啲嘅，高階嗰啲咧就留翻喺課堂嗰度使用嘅。咁譬如學生咧就可以喺網站嗰度啦，去睇一啲相關嘅資料啦。咁到課堂嘅時候咧，就係應用啊、分析啊、評價、創造啊等等咁樣，就喺翻課堂嗰度使用咯。咁就係有一個分工啦，就唔會話上堂啦同埋網上嘅資料咧係重疊或者點樣，即係大家有一個分工啦，咁可以互相配合得更好嘅。咁翻轉教室裏邊咧，就有聽説讀寫嘅一啲練習嘅。咁裏邊咧就係即係 度身訂造俾學生去用啦。咁但係初學粵語嘅人士咧，即係小朋友啦，或者係非華語嘅學生咧，都可以用呢一個網站嘅。咁裏邊咧就即係有一啲互動嘅練習啦，同埋咧啲資料咧全部都數字化噶啦，就好方便學生隨時隨地都可以用啦。咁我哋做之前咧，我哋係即係睇過唔同大專院校嘅一啲學粵語嘅網站嘅。有中大㗎啦，中大有上面2個啦，咁可能大家都熟悉㗎啦呢啲。咁下邊有教大啦，同埋港大嘅一啲網站啦。咁我哋全部都睇過嘅，咁就發現佢係未有一啲即係可以訓練口語嘅部分啦。咁嗰個網站咧，佢個架構就係咁嘅。咁佢有學習嘅部分啦，譬如係有語音知識嘅部分先，跟住聲韻調啦。裏邊有學習嘅聲調韻聲母韻母聲調啦，然之後係聽嘅。咁喺頭先我哋睇嗰啲網頁咧，好多時候都係聽嘅嗰啲為主啦。咁但係我哋呢個唔同嘅咧，就係佢有朗讀嘅部分，同埋可以係打分啊，即係啱同錯啦，起碼係。咁另外就有日常傳譯啦，即係除咗語音知識之外咧，就有詞彙同埋句子嘅。咁就有10個課題啦。喺詞彙上邊啦，亦都有5個課題俾句子嘅。呢啲咧就係初級粵語嗰啲材料嚟嘅，即係嗰2本書咧，我哋係融合咗喺一齊，所以唔同嘅課堂都可以用到嘅。咁喺呢度咧，你會見到呢度打咗啲聲啦。咁其實咧，成個網站咧都有示範音檔嘅。咁亦都有一啲咧係連嘴型啊，同埋係唔同嘅聲音都有嘅。咁呢一度咧朗讀咧就係佢最特別嘅功能啦。咁啊，俾一啲例子大家睇一睇啦。咁喺學習內容嗰度咧，咁我哋會見到其實佢係好基本嘅，譬如係聲韻調嗰啲咧，佢就會顯示出嚟一啲基本嘅資料啦。咁跟住咧，譬如詞彙咧就係形音義，跟住有聲啦。咁句子咧亦都係類似嘅，不過佢嘅形音義係長啲啦嚇。即係譬如詞彙啦，跟住有一啲短嘅句子咁樣，都係參考嗰個課文嘅內容嘅。嗱，咁示範音檔嗰度咧，就每一個部分都有示範音檔噶啦。咁比較特別嘅咧就係我係加咗有聲韻調嗰度咧係有男聲同埋女聲嘅2種嘅。咁樣嘅做法咧係因為當時教書嘅時候咧，嗰啲外國學生啊，佢係問聲調係咪男聲女聲嘅差別，即係音高嘅差別。咁咧跟住咧即係通常係第1、2堂咧佢哋係搞唔清楚嘅。咁我就俾啲聲佢聽，佢話哦原來係咁嘅，唔係即係高音同低音嘅純粹咁樣嘅分別啦，又唔係男仔女仔嘅分別。咁但係咧就擺咗喺度咧，俾佢哋有個參考咯。特別係外國學生啊，即係佢個語言咧就同非音調語言咧，佢就係好搞唔掂嘅初嘅時候。嗱，咁喺示範音檔嗰度咧，除咗有聲咧，咁我哋咧就揾咗呢個係我哋嘅校友嚟嘅，即係我哋以前 CBS 嘅學生啦。咁可能大家喺電視見過佢嘅，其實佢以前係某個電視台嘅一個主播啦。咁啊邀請咗佢嚟啦，就幫我哋示範一啲嘴型啦。咁當然你個嘴型睇唔到入邊啦，咁但係起碼外邊嘅可以俾學生有一個參考咯。即係當佢係練習嘅時候，起碼有一啲覺得比較有把握啊，因為睇得到嘛。咁裏邊有啲聆聽嘅練習啦，有初中高階嘅啦。咁高階嗰啲咧，可能又會設計一啲相關嘅圖片啦。咁比較難啲嘅，譬如係韻母嗰度係比較難啲嘅。咁我哋就有挑戰站添。咁挑戰站咧就針對特別係內地生啊，佢時常用普通話嚟到去做對比啊。咁我哋就擺埋一齊啦。咁我哋再睇埋咧，就係呢一個，仲有一啲詞彙嘅語義練習啦、句子嘅練習咁樣嘅。咁唔同形式嘅咧，其實背後都係一啲選擇題嚟嘅。我哋呢個網站我哋用咗1年去做，其實係好急㗎、好趕嘅。咁但係起碼都希望用唔同嘅形式呈現出嚟，等學生覺得比較有趣啲啦，同埋多元化一啲啦。嗱，咁我哋睇一睇嗰個 AI 嗰個評測咧。AI 評測裏邊嗰個，其實呢個網站已經係我哋完成咗幾年啦。咁但係暫時大專院校都冇大專院校係用呢一個功能啊，去讓嗰個網站成為一啲係可以評測嗰個語音嘅。咁其實用嘅功能咧就係語音識別同埋咧呢個 speech to text 啊，2個大家都聽過㗎啦。咁但係我哋將佢夾埋咗之後咧，就可以判斷佢嗰個語音啱同埋錯啊。咁暫時都係未有自學網站係咁樣用嘅。嗱，咁嗰個做法係點嘅咧？咁我哋咧就譬如呢一度咧就係理工嘅一啲圖片啦，咁圖書館啦，咁理工啦，咁就撳掣就錄音啦。 錄咗之後咧，你可以重聽嘅，你又可以聽嗰個啱嗰個音，即係呢個係老師示範嗰個音啦。咁之後咧，你就撳提交，就會見到咧，我自己讀得啱唔啱啦。咁呢個咧就係好方便到同學嘅。咁另外咧，譬如去到另一個呢個係睇圖噶啦。咁另外咧，你見到呢一種咧係去到詞彙句子嗰度咧。咁你撳錄音咧，你會見到佢呢度咧好似錄緊音咁會喐咁樣，等同學知道其實真係錄緊音嘅。咁跟住佢又可以重聽啦，跟住提交啦。譬如咧呢度咧，我專登答謝咁。咁喂，你唔係喎，老師呢度有一個謝係啱嘅喎。咁但係咧，我就係想學生留意咧，你要成個詞語都啱先至叫做啱嘅。咁我哋個設定係咁樣啦。咁所以咧，就學生就會睇到，哦，原來我直接用普通話翻譯謝係唔啱嘅，我一定要咁樣講先得。咁可以撳翻旁邊又有喇叭去聽翻嗰個答案嘅。咁仲有句子㗎啦，都係如此類推，都係咁樣做嘅。咁呢個網站咧，我哋仲有，如果係學校內嘅咧。我哋係有賬戶系統嘅，咁我自己上堂嘅時候咧，就其實我見到好多老師喺度影啊，不過話俾你聽喺邊度啦個位置。其實我已經喺呢個理工大學嘅自學語文學習資源裏邊。嗱呢度咧，呢3個咧都係即係我負責嘅項目啦。咁有錯別字嘅，有懶音嘅，同埋有翻轉粵語教室嘅。翻轉粵語教室你撳入去就有噶啦。咁大家好方便，因為我見大家係咁影啊。咁其實你入呢個網址就有齊噶啦。咁啊，即係懶音咧，懶音亦都係好多即係校外嘅人士使用噶。咁我知道有學校咧係全校係攞呢個網站去愛嚟練習嗰啲懶音嘅。咁大家有興趣都可以入去睇下啦。咁我另外仲有呢個錯別字嘅一個網站啦。就係有唔同嘅練習㗎，咁大家可以入去睇下啦。咁你見呢啲網站咧，全部都係即係好 fancy 咁樣啦，即係好得意啊啲公仔咁。因為我諗大家都明白啦，而家都係大家都係即係特別學生啊。如果我哋老師嘅練習咧，同坊間差太遠咧，我諗佢冇乜興趣玩嘅。咁所以喺設計上邊咧，就花咗啲心思啦。咁懶音都係嘅，有唔同嘅練習啦。咁另外頭先嗰個咧就係翻轉語教室啦。咁論文寫作可能對即係在座老師未必係好主要嘅一項啦。如果大家有興趣都可以入去睇嘅。咁跟住咧，我哋就睇翻呢度啦。咁如果係校內嘅同學咧，咁我哋就有呢一個系統嘅，即係我 upload 咗名單上去啦。咁我就可以睇到咧同學嗰個答啱嘅情況。個別同學答啱嘅情況，或者全班答啱嘅情況，咁就好方便到老師啦。譬如我試過上堂嘅時候咧，我教內地生廣東話咁啦，咁跟住咧就叫同學去做啦。做完咧我就去睇啦。譬如佢邊一個聲母係比較即係多人錯嘅，咁我就可以全班一齊講。哦，原來我哋呢班咧某一個聲母係特別錯得犀利嘅喎，咁我哋要留意啦。咁樣咁係好方便嘅。咁但係你話咁私下同同學咁樣對住學生講嘅，就當然係會更加好啦。咁但係呢個有一個整體嘅可以協助上堂嘅一啲材料咁樣咯。咁仲有其他功能嘅，就係可以同學將自己嗰啲資料啦、想問嘅問題輸入啦。咁老師同埋同班嘅同學會睇到嘅。咁呢個網站咧就係設計咗中英雙語版本㗎。咁所以無論你學校裏邊嘅係內地嚟嘅同學，佢想學廣東話啦，抑或佢係其他非華語學生，佢可以用英文去睇嘅，即係中英雙語版本係好方便到同學嘅。咁另外咧，意見回饋咧就係直接會 send 去我個 email 㗎。如果老師有咩問題，其實你可以 send 落去呢度啦，或者你直接 send 理工嗰個 email 都可以嘅。嚇，因為呢個就唔會日日睇啦。咁平時 email 就會日日睇，如果有需要咧，大家可以 send 俾我啦。咁我哋喺21年啱啱做起嘅時候咧，就有問過一啲嘅學生啦，做嗰個一啲問卷調查啦。咁同學咧就都對成個網頁嘅反應係好正面嘅。其中我班有一個同學咧，佢係全個網頁咧，我哋廣東話用掄咗佢。佢全部做晒，跟住咧佢連啲 bug 都話俾我聽。佢話老師呢個音檔咧有啲點，即係佢成個網頁咧係睇得好仔細。咁最後咧個學生咧當時咧佢係同另一個同學係即係同鄉嚟嘅，一齊嚟香港讀書啦。佢個同鄉本來入學嘅時候咧個水平我覺得係高啲嘅，但係到學期尾咧就係呢一個掄晒成個網頁嗰個咧，佢個水平係即係班裏邊係數一數二噶啦。 好犀利，即係我覺得係呢一個網站係可以幫到同學，亦都實質上係有同學去即係好仔細、好用心咁樣去做啦。咁同學認為個 AI 評測係最有用嘅。咁另外咧喺當時又提咗一啲 IT 方面嘅建議啦。咁後尾咧今個學年啊，咁我又問咗一啲同學啦。今個學年咧係問咗60個同學。咁佢哋咧就因為我哋而家呢一個網站咧已經係即係陷入咗喺我哋頭先講嗰3個廣東話嘅科裏邊嘅，作為課外嘅計分練習嘅。咁同學咧即係其實計分噶嘛，咁佢梗係會做噶啦。但係咧我去問佢哋嘅時候咧，其實佢哋都覺得即係計分係一回事啦，但係佢覺得呢個網站係好幫到佢哋嘅，即係喺課餘嘅時間可以做啦，又可以針對自己嘅情況去即係練習廣東話啦咁。咁呢一個網站咧嘅一啲頭先講嘅提出嘅一啲口語上嘅創新啦，或者係佢嗰個示範方式嘅創新啦，或者練習方面嗰啲創新等等咧，就已經擺咗喺呢本書噶啦，即係粵語與數碼人文。咁應該係今一個月左緊係出版嘅，係啦。咁係其中一篇咧就係關於呢個翻轉粵語教室嘅。咁呢個係第一個部分啦，就係關於廣東話學習嘅。咁第二個即係我哋嘅一啲 project 咧，就係對外漢語宇宙，就係個 Metaverse 嚟嘅。咁呢個 Metaverse 咧就係喺疫情嘅時候，大家都即係經歷咗啦，就全面停課啊，跟住咧所有嘢突然間就線上學習啦咁樣。咁當時咧我哋就computing 嗰邊嘅同事啦，就係認為咁樣嘅情況底下，我哋係咪可以用一啲其他嘅方法去互相同課堂結合，跟住咧就係用混合式嘅教學等等，咁樣去教學咧，令到同學咧可以有更多嘅得益咧。咁於是咧，佢哋就諗咗呢一個諗法，就係用元宇宙呢個方式啦。咁咧我哋咧就係computing 嘅學系啦，我哋啦，中國語文教育中心啦。咁另外咧就仲有其他唔同嘅學系啦，醫療科技等等嗰邊啦，我哋就6個部門，就每個部門一個 Metaverse。咁我哋就係中文嗰邊嘅。咁我哋就會用元宇宙嗰個技術啦，同埋一啲遊戲咧去讓學生學普通話嘅。咁嗰啲都係對外漢語嘅學生啦。咁元宇宙咧就係我諗大家都了解嘅，即係有一啲係虛擬嘅情景啊，有啲沉浸式嘅學習啦，令學生覺得親臨其境等等啦。咁我哋譬如我哋嘅學生咧，好多時就係玩緊呢啲元宇宙嘅練習嘅遊戲嘅，譬如 Minecraft 啦，呢啲咧我諗你哋一定聽過㗎啦。咁我哋個元宇宙就即係類似係呢一啲嘅，有虛擬嘅世界啦，又有真實嘅世界，又有遊戲啊咁樣嘅。咁我哋睇翻啦，咁嗰個研究嘅方法咧就用咗2個嘅，一個就係遊戲化理論啦，一個係建構主義理論啦。遊戲化理論咧就係本來唔係遊戲嘅時候就用遊戲嘅元素啦。咁建構主義咧最主要就係讓學生自行建構知識呢一樣啦。咁佢有唔同嘅 model 喺呢度。咁其中咧就係譬如首先讓藍色嗰個啦，就首先讓學生咧去發現個問題，即係佢嗰個學習嘅嗰個缺口係乜嘢。然之後咧就自我去探索啦喺元宇宙裏邊。跟住咧就係喺裏邊會有一啲嘅參考資料俾佢睇到啦。同埋有啲視頻啊等等啦，係協助一啲講解啦，即係老師唔在場嘅一啲講解啦。跟住學生就去應用啦，最尾咧就去掌握咁樣嘅，即係類似係咁樣嘅一啲情況啦。咁其他仲有一啲仔細嘅咧，就係我哋今日咧就唔牽涉呢度啦，就係主要係講佢嗰個元宇宙點樣啦。咁我今日嘅目標咧就試下即係沉浸式。其實第一次聽沉浸式，我覺得好怪嘅嗰個感覺，但係咧原來呢一種嘅沉浸式咧係學生咧係好常用嘅，同埋佢哋咧係覺得好有趣嘅。咁我一陣一睇咧，你就會見到我哋老師未必覺得係咁樣嘅，特別係我自己啦。咁我哋睇一睇啊，嗱呢個係我哋嘅課本啦，有啲學校都用呢個課本嘅，我知有啲大專都用呢個課本嘅。咁呢一啲學生咧係叫做2級 Level 2。咁佢只係學咗普通話39個鐘嘅啫，咁佢第40個鐘就會嚟到 Level 2噶啦。咁呢個Level 2咧，佢係啱啱學識咗簡單嘅自我介紹，咁跟住咧就學買衣服啊、買東西啊咁樣嘅。咁跟住咧個元宇宙係點嘅咧？ 點解我話我覺得麻麻地咧？就係因為佢係成日都係黑掹掹嘅元宇宙，好多黑掹掹嘅。咁你見頭先嗰啲咧都係即係色彩好繽紛嘅，但係學生咧一入到去咧，你係諗唔到佢喺入邊跳嚟跳去嘅，因為裏邊咧係可以喐噶嘛嗰個人。嗱呢度咧你見到係通菜街咁樣啦，咁佢可以喺度跑嚟跑去㗎，咁學生就好開心啊。其實未開始學語言啊，咁佢就攞住嗰個 mouse 咧跑嚟跑去咁樣啦，跟住咧喺度跳嚟跳去啦，咁又有其他同學一齊咁喺度跳，其實係大學生嚟嘅喎，但係佢哋好興奮咁樣跳啦。咁跳完啦，咁呢個係初稿嚟嘅，咁啊初稿大概係咁啦，咁到正稿啦，正稿咧就係頭先係水果店同埋服裝店嘛。嗱，水果店咧，冇水果嘅老師冇水果，因為咧我哋一班咧有20-30個同學咧，如果全部入晒水果店咧，就會個爆棚啊，即係爆晒。咁所以咧就分有一半喺水果店，一半喺服裝店，就人太多啊，咁個負責 IT 嘅同事就話唔可以再擺水果啦，所以咧就擺人先啦，咁就照用住先。咁服裝店咧個位寬鬆啲就可以擺幾件衫咁樣，咁啊水果店同服裝店啦。咁跟住我哋睇一睇佢點樣玩嘅。嗱，咁咧我哋咧就係擺咗嗱，首先咧就擺咗嗱，佢係學咗嗰個水果店嗰課噶啦，即係買水果嗰課。佢咁通常學完唔會記得噶嘛，即刻佢有啲時間噶嘛。咁佢咧就可以睇翻嗰個 video， 即係嗰個課文嘅 video 啊。咁就聽下嗰個店主啦，同埋顧客嘅嗰個對話嘅。咁啊，呢個係嗰個書原本提供嘅。咁跟住咧，佢如果睇完啦，佢覺得温習完 OK 啦。咁佢咧就可以入去水果店嗰度咧，去練習佢個對話嘅。咁喺呢一度入去之前咧，其實佢係兩個地方嚟嘅。呢個地方咧就係可以同同學去對話嘅。呢個叫 spatial 啦，佢可以同同學去對話，可以自己貼個 poster 喺上邊，可以同老師講嘢，即係點樣互動都得噶啦喺呢度。咁當佢譬如呢個服裝店咧，佢可以入去啲門入邊嘅，走嚟走去係點樣都得嘅。咁呢度就係可以同同學、老師互動嘅地方。咁但係入咗去水果店咧，叫做 Questverse 啊。你見到而家佢話 Leaving Spatial 嘛，咁佢離開咗嗰個空間啦，嗰個係個元宇宙空間啦。跟住就入去水果店，入去水果店咧就輸入學生自己嘅資料啦。咁佢可以揀衫啊、揀性別啊咁樣啦。嗱，咁跟住咧就入去啦。入去咧。一個咧，其實就佢只係做一個角色嘅啫。佢可以第一次佢係做店主嘅，第二次去做顧客嘅，每次係一個角色啦。咁佢入到去咧，我哋就將課文，我俾佢知道，其實總共得9句嘅啫，等佢心裏邊有個數啦。如果唔係就幾時先講完啊咁樣啦。咁跟住咧呢一句係會顯示俾佢睇嘅，然之後佢要讀嘅係呢一句，讀完之後。嗱，佢撳 speak 就讀啦，佢可以聽原本嗰句啦，可以聽佢要講嗰句啦。撳完 speak 之後咧，就可以錄音啦。咁錄音唔滿意嘅可以重錄。其實呢一個元宇宙呢一個嘅嗰個錄音個功能咧，其實同頭先翻轉粵語教室嗰個係相近嘅。係咪因為事先有咗翻轉粵語教室，所以喺元宇宙嘅時候先至會諗到，可以咁樣再去試用喎咁樣。咁跟住咧，譬如佢9句句子做完晒啦。咁佢就撳 submit， 咁完成咗之後咧，佢可以對比翻佢自己。譬如佢呢一句咧，呢個係可能字比較細啦。呢個係不貴啊，不貴。咁佢咧，佢就讀咗不會，讀錯咗啦。咁佢呢度就會顯示，你頭先錯嗰個字係乜嘢？咁當你而家睇好簡單啦，佢哇咁勁一出就出 Excel， 其實裏邊要轉少少㗎，因為呢一個網站咧，我哋係6個部門去做6個 metaverse 啊嘛，佢唔似頭先翻轉語教室咁樣係我哋自己一個 project tailor-made 嘅，咁所以佢裏邊咧，佢呢度要少少轉換翻嗰啲字符啊，如果唔係就咁出嚟咧係怪獸符號嚟嘅，佢個學生要轉少少字符啦，所以我係整咗一個說明書俾佢噶，咁等佢用嘅時候咧唔會即係摸不着頭腦啊，用下嘅時候，咁佢用完咧仲要去做嗰個 questionnaire 嘅，呢個 questionnaire 咧就係 computing 嗰邊嘅 questionnaire 嚟，有80題嘅。咁學生好乖啦，全部做晒啦。咁跟住咧做晒咧，我記得咧學生即係整體咧都係話呢個 metaverse 好好玩噶。我係預料唔到，因為對我嚟講黑掹掹啊。咁跟住咧就係講嚟講去都嗰幾句啫嘛。但係原來即係對非華語嘅學生咧，佢覺得適合佢嘅年齡嘅，佢覺得好有趣啦。同埋即使係咁簡單嘅對答咧，佢覺得係好滿意呢個做法。咁佢啲學生咧。就喺中期問卷，因為我嘅課堂有中期問卷嘅，中期問卷啦，期末又有問卷嘅。 即係大學都會有個 SFQ 噶嘛。咁另外咧，我又會係為咗呢個 project 咧，我又做一個額外嘅問卷俾佢咧，全部同學都係話，希望更多嘅 metaverse 可以俾佢哋練習。其中同學咧，佢講得最多嘅咧，佢係話佢係英文㗎啦，啲同學仔，佢就話咧，用呢個 using the metaverse for teaching and learning is a good idea， 即係佢話呢個 idea 係好好啊。同埋呢個 role play 咧，佢覺得亦都係非常好嘅一個做法。另外有同學咧就係話佢哋咧平時喺課堂啦，班上嘅同學會有唔同水平㗎嘛。如果佢係直接同同學練習，差唔多水平又唔係幾學到嘢，高水平過佢又好尷尬，即刻問老師佢又覺得唔係幾好意思。所以咧好多同學嘅評價咧，除咗呢個 metaverse 好玩好用，幫到佢學語言之外咧，佢係話令到佢好有信心去練習啊。即係佢唔會怕對住人啊嘛，因為佢自己對住部機啫嘛，好似平時去打機嗰陣時咁，佢好自在啊。咁即係好多同學咧喺唔同，仲有口頭話俾我聽啊。其實我嗰班得16個學生啫嘛，即係一級通常係咁樣啦，16個學生喺唔同嘅渠道都話俾我聽，即係想要多啲呢一類嘅 metaverse， 最好課都有 metaverse， 等佢翻去練習。嗱咁跟住咧我就對比咗頭先翻轉粵語教室同埋對外漢語元宇宙啦。咁大家會見到咧，即係佢都係類近嘅，佢錄音啦，然之後咧就顯示答案啦。咁就知道自己啱定錯，呢啲都係一啲即係 AI 本來有嘅一啲功能。我將佢合併咗一齊咧，就可以令到我哋嘅語言學習上邊咧，學生可以好即係獨立自主咁樣去練習啊！即係老師唔在場，佢自己喺屋企，佢都可以練習到粵語啦，佢亦都可以練習到呢個普通話嘅。無論係對外漢語，即係普通話學生啦，抑或粵語嘅學生咧，佢冇講過話成績點樣嘅一個考量啦。佢話呢個唔係一個壓力，佢話呢啲咧都係好幫到佢哋學習㗎。咁所以咧就即使唔係我班嘅學生，我今次問翻住語教室嗰啲係隔離班老師，我係完全唔識個學生。我見佢哋放學跟住我就衝過去做問卷啦，因為要想了解更多嗰個網站嘅情況咧。佢唔識我㗎，但係佢就幫老師，我幫你做晒問卷佢啦。咁就個個去做啦。做完咧就全部嘅 feedback 都好好，係90%嘅同學，同埋係或者係超過90%，差唔多接近100%嘅同學咧，都係認同呢啲嘅方式咧，可以幫到佢嘅學習嘅。咁最後咧就係有少少嘅對自我嘅教學嘅啟示啦。即係特別係翻轉語教室呢一類咧，佢嗰個語言上邊啊，佢幫到同學咧喺嗰啲自學嘅材料上邊咧，口語其實成日都係比較缺少嘅。咁佢就有一啲口語嘅練習啦，亦都可以好自在咁樣練習啦。同學都係好中意呢一種方式啦。咁即係日後我哋都希望可以多啲用一啲唔同方式去協助同學學習啦，無論係課堂嘅學習，亦或係課外嘅學習，都希望可以幫到佢哋啦。咁呢個咧就係我嘅分享啦，多謝大家。係啦，應該有幾分鐘嘅問答，係大家可以係用嘅嗰啲網站啊，即係頭先提嗰啲咧，咁大家可以自由用嘅，冇問題嘅。係老師好。係老師嘅問題好好，咁咧就有其他老師都問過我呢個同樣嘅問題，咁我咧就兩個方面去答啦。首先咧我就去問咗負責 IT 個公司，咁佢就話咧其實佢背後嗰個軟件咧，佢本身係冇話自己嗰個準程度有幾高，佢係唔顯示嘅，即係佢唔話俾你聽我啱定錯啦。咁特別係粵語嗰個係 check 唔到嘅。佢網上 check 唔到，咁但係咧，我哋實際上去用嘅時候咧，其實準程度係高嘅，粵語嗰個，粵語嗰個。咁但係有一個地方要話俾大家聽咧，嗰個準程度高咧，因為佢係語音識別啊嘛。如果佢係單音節單一個字咧，其實有好多同音字噶嘛，中文。咁喺單音節嗰度咧，我係冇呢一個功能嘅，係雙音節開始，即係詞語句子開始就有啦。咁但係啲1、2、3、4、5、6、7佢都認到嘅。咁呢個係可以方便到老師啦。如果唔係，佢成日打攪你，點解呢個字有錯？其實佢係啱噶嘛，佢可以係啱嘅，因為單音節有好多同音字啫嘛。咁呢個係廣東話嘅嗰一個。咁普通話嗰個咧就鬆好多㗎。亦都係查唔到佢嗰個準程度啦。有英文咗 IT 嘅公司啦，佢話係查唔到嘅，佢亦都唔公佈俾你聽。 咁當然大家都理解啦嚇。咁但係咧普通話佢嗰個接受度係高好多㗎，即係我哋比較唔正咧，其實佢都當你 OK。但係學生咧，特別係初學嗰啲咧，佢最主要係有一個練習嘅機會啊，同埋佢自己都唔知自己讀得啱唔啱嘅。係嘛？咁起碼佢練多咗啦。我覺得同學喺評估嘅時候係有信心多啲嘅，冇咁驚嘅。咁呢個係一個好處咯。但係普通話嗰個我唔敢講佢嗰個準程度好高，但係普通話應該係有更專業嘅一啲嘅評測系統啊。即係呢一個係一啲對嗰啲專業評測系統嚟講咧，我哋係比較初級啲嘅。普通話好多專業系統嘅，就即係我諗大家應該都聽過啦。咁但係呢啲作為課堂嘅一個輔助，我覺得就即係都可以即係協助咁樣咯。嚇，好 OK 吧？咁如果有1-2分鐘咧，我就俾大家睇下啦。譬如呢個懶音咧，係有每一年有2萬幾個人用㗎。係啊，咁你説話有懶音啊，咁測試咁咪去玩下咯，咁咪去聽下咯。
黏合
啊，可能好細聲啦，跟住
黏合
咁嗱，我胡亂咁錯啦，嘟嘟嘟咁樣啦，即係佢類似呢啲練習，我自己都覺得幾好玩。呢個都係較早前㗎啦，咁佢就會係常見嘅聲韻母嘅錯啊，咁仲有一啲圖咧，你睇到個嘴點樣喐啊？佢讀咗你抑或你啦，咁有啲圖啦，咁另外咧就有啲得意嘅練習啦。我諗我仲有2分鐘嚇，仲有啲係啦，仲有啲高階啲嘅練習啦。我揾翻呢啲先啊。有啲係難㗎，有啲係難嘅。喺句子裏邊啦，跟住聽一句句子啦。
有人說，社交網站念書的朋友未必是真朋友。
大家聽到啦嚇，係啦，咁你就揾錯嗰個音節咯，跟住去 click 咯。咁呢個係難嘅，仲有一啲咧係仲有啲係睇個係啦呢啲啦，兩個差邊一個啱邊一個錯啦。嗱，我揾一個有4個頭嗰個俾大家睇睇。喺邊啊？等一陣啊，有一個係有4個頭咧，就好難啊！我覺得嗱，4個頭咧，你要聽4次啊。4個頭就係每一個頭咧係一個組合啊。呢個係 NL 嘅組合嘛，所以加埋有4個組合咯。咁啊，學生去聽呢個係好多學生用嘅。咁大家都係可以隨意使用啦喺度。咁啊，消滅錯別字嗰個我自己覺得好好玩嘅。消滅錯別字嗰啲咧，就你可以立即測試自己係小學生定大學生啦。咁跟住咧。跟住做完之後咧，就有成績嘅，即係我哋隨便一路 click 落去啦，係啦咁樣啦。咁一路做完咧，佢就最後就會彈出嚟頭先嗰個你係咪大學生啊、小學生啊咁啦。咁呢啲嘅例子咧，全部都係我嘅學生嘅錯處嚟嘅。咁學生都係從中學、小學咁升上嚟噶嘛。咁咧佢哋嘅錯處好可能係大家嘅學生嘅錯處啦。咁我就喺唔同嘅文類咧。就有譬如喺通告裏邊常見嘅係乜嘢錯別字？應徵信常見，應徵信成日錯嘅咧就係聘請個聘字啊嘛，即係耳仔邊嗰個即係一個班，譬如我20個學生有5個錯嘅起碼，搞到自己老師都懷疑自己係啱定錯啊嘛。即係我諗大家都係咁樣嘅感覺啦。所以我呢個錯別字唔同嘅咧，就係我按文類去分㗎。你喺嗰個文類就成日出現嗰幾個字噶嘛，咁學生就可以入去睇啦。同埋有啲我覺得好玩嘅咧，我睇下。嗱，你見我成日講得好玩，因為我覺得起碼自己老師覺得好玩先啦，自己都覺得唔好玩，學生係唔會玩㗎，係嘛？詞語啦，嗱，我覺得我呢個網站唔同嘅咧，就係譬如試次咁 click 咗啦，咁下一個啦，你就要揀一啲同類嘅字啦，即係同音字啦，有啲係淨係揀嗰個部首或偏旁㗎咋，譬如辨別個辨咪成日中間嗰 part 錯嘅。咁樣就會難啲啊，對學生嚟講。但係咁佢一推落去咧，佢就對下睇啱先 click 落去啊嘛。咁我覺得呢啲係好玩嘅，雖然已經過咗幾年，但係都係好多學生用嘅。咁所以呢幾個網站咧都好歡迎大家使用嘅，即係唔單止係頭先嗰個粵語㗎啦，咁仲有頭先錯別字啦或者懶音啦。咁元宇宙咧暫時就未對外開放嘅，咁我就再睇下點樣可以處理，因為有其他大專院校問我即係可唔可以對外開放一齊用啊咁樣，咁要研究下先。係啦，咁我嘅報告到呢度啦，多謝大家。